you can be so close with a guy that suddenly he's just like completely detached. He's disconnected. He's ignoring you. He's like watching a football game. He's watching the news. It's like you don't exist. You know, what is going on?
Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. I'm so happy to welcome back the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all times, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, Dr. John Gray. John, thank you so much for being here again.
Always happy to be with you.
In addition to your iconic bestseller, you've authored numerous books, including the one right here sitting right behind me, Beyond Mars and Venus, which is, well, essentially an update that takes us into the complexities of today's relationship, the differences between men and women that are so important to understand. And actually, speaking of differences, the topic that I want to discuss today, I drew it actually from one of your blog posts, which we'll link to, but it's how to make peace with cave time in 3 steps. Us women, we don't understand why men pull away. Why is that so important? Why is that topic so important?
Okay, the first thing I want to mention is the power of understanding. Just that why what we're about to say makes such a difference. And so many women have come up to me and said it makes such a difference. So I'm going to give my own experience of understanding and how it helps me. Okay. So I like to drive fast. I drive faster than the average person. I go in the fast lane. And sometimes there's somebody in that fast lane blocking. I mean, they're going slower than the middle lane. So my first reaction is annoyance and irritation. When I was younger, I would get angry. Who is this person? Yeah. But always when I would pass them, I would always look back. There's like, in the beginning, it's like the evil eye. How dare you slow up? That's a tendency we have. You see what you've done to me? But every time I would look, I'd always understand just by seeing that person. Oh, she was young and it was a new car. It was an old guy. It was somebody from another country. It was somebody, the insight, the understanding came of why that person was that way. And immediately all my frustration goes away, and immediately any judgmentalness goes away. So that's the reason why. And one of the most annoying things, irritating things for women is you can be so close with a guy that suddenly he's just like completely detached. He's disconnected. He's ignoring you. He's not there for you. He's like watching a football game. He's watching the news. It's like you don't exist. He walks into the house and you're not even in his space. What is going on? So we have these 3 points that were made in the blog.
So the 3 steps, and these made so much sense to me because everything you just described, that's my life. and it helps so much to understand this. And that's, again, why I wanted to have this conversation. So you say here that the first one, step 1, take back control of your experience. That, like, the resentment you feel and the hurt you feel is really your problem. Talk to me about that. So interesting.
Right. Well, that's why I gave that little example. Anytime we're upset with somebody, we're not understanding. It doesn't make sense to us. It's like, I'm so good. Why aren't they that way? Or I do all this, they don't do that. And really the realization is this understanding that's so hard to have about the opposite sex because we are so different. A woman typically, when she withdraws, it's because she doesn't feel safe with you, or she's angry with you, or she's punishing you, whatever. I remember the first experience in my marriage with Bonnie. We've been married 34 years. She's now passed on. I'm remarried, but I like to identify the women in my life. But it was the first year, and I was, Bonnie was upset with me about something. I don't remember what it was, but when I came home, the house was very quiet. And I was thinking, well, and she wasn't talking, and she was just busy making dinner or something, whatever she was doing. And I thought to myself, oh, she's so quiet. And then I thought, I guess this is what marriage is like, is that, after a while you don't have to talk. And then I thought, I like this. And then I thought nothing was wrong. And then when I went upstairs that night, we were going to get a little affectionate with each other. And I was making some moves, and she says, are you kidding? I'm like, well, what do you mean? It's like, don't you know? I said, know what? It's like, I'm upset. And I was really very innocent to it, because when I take my cave time, it's not necessarily, or when I withdraw, it's not necessarily anything about her. It could be. I mean, there's the possibility I could be mad at her, and my female side
Yeah.
I would withhold or something. But
Yeah.
most of the time, I'm just thinking about something. I'm doing what I need to do for me. And that's a different biology of men and women. So, step one, understand really what's going on, and you won't
Right.
have resentfulness. You won't have frustration. Here, they come to you to find out the answer. So, number two is the understanding of it. So, the understanding of this is to realize biologically, men have a cycle just like women have a cycle. Men, our cycle, my wife just brought me a drink.
Oh, cheers. Cheers.
Mm, delicious. Absolutely delicious. Thank you, sweet. Now, coming back to step two. So, why do men go to the cave? Biologically, we have a different set of hormones, and it's really much simpler than a woman's.
Mhm.
It's if we don't go to work, we're depressed. We need work to build testosterone. We need to be solving problems all day long. But your body also uses up that testosterone. Just like if you're a weightlifter, you make testosterone by lifting weights, but you also use it up. But it sends a message to the body. You used your testosterone. Now it's used up. You got to remake the testosterone so that tomorrow you can have that testosterone again. Then what he needs is recovery time. Recovery time is where he rebuilds his testosterone, and he rebuilds his testosterone when he's feeling alone
Mhm.
or in complete control of his life, or in practical hormonal terms, where he's just solving problems that don't cause stress, easy problems like a video game or like watching a football game or watching the news. The news is my thing because the news just helps me forget the problems at work. Because see, men are on a roll, they're solving problems, they feel good. At the end of the day, you can't do anything, so you have to forget it. So this is
Yeah.
a time for a man to do something. And what I basically explain to women, it's a time where a man will do something that a woman thinks is a complete waste of time. Okay, that's the bottom line. Whatever you think a man's doing is a waste of time is his cave time. And there are certain cave times that are not productive in the long run, and there's ones that are productive. And the ones
Mhm.
that aren't productive is drinking too much.
Mhm.
Okay, that would be not productive. The bigger one is if a man was to do porn. That's a cave time activity for a lot of guys today, but it just lowers their testosterone. It doesn't help them to rebuild it.
Yeah.
Why? Because when he does porn, one of the reasons is just simply it raises his estrogen so much because you
Mm.
enjoy it so much. Whenever a man enjoys something so much, it's estrogen. So he does something that he enjoys, but not too much, and he feels
Mhm.
complete control. If he was to interact and have a conversation with his wife at that time, his estrogen would go up instead of his
Mhm.
testosterone coming up. So he
Mhm.
needs, in a sense, he has a cycle. His cycle is go out in the world, forage, solve problems, fix things, break things, whatever.
Mhm.
He's doing his outer work. Then he needs to come back into his life where nobody's in control of me. I'm in complete control of myself. I rebuild my testosterone. Now I'm going to go over to you, who I choose to let you control me. Although men don't say it that way, but we adjust our behavior to make you happy. Everybody knows men want to make women happy. And the flip side of that is when men leave, it's because they say to me every time, John, no matter what I do, it's never enough to make her happy. Rarely
Mhm.
do I hear a woman say, I can't make my husband happy. She might say he's unhappy, but really she's unhappy because he's so unhappy he doesn't give me anything. Women have a long list of things that he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this. And unfortunately, if you don't understand cave time, you'll add that to your list rather than realize this is called having a man in your life. And this is who we are. We rejuvenate ourselves so we have more to give to you. Because when we're giving to you, we're adjusting ourselves all the
Mhm.
time based on what does a woman need. And so I did that very
Yeah.
quickly in terms of biology. Did you follow
Mhm.
it?
No, absolutely, and I'm somewhat familiar with that, but that's why it's so important for women to understand that. And one of the things that continues to speak with to me, even though I'm familiar with your work to a large degree, is that what we do when they go into you want to go after them,
Oh, that's
or
the
you want
funny
to.
part of it. Listen, I used to do this on Broadway, and one of my little skits was some women tell me after they learned that, they said, my whole life, my marriage has been falling apart because I'm a cave buster.
Yeah.
He goes to his cave. I get in there. I want to know what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what's going on. And my husband, he digs tunnels. He's got other caves. He's got so you're kind of following him the rest of the relationship rather than giving him his space. then he can come back to you. And for the men listening, if you find yourself being grumpy and irritable, and women need to know this, of course, you're not taking enough cave time. Anytime a man is irritated, annoyed, angry, grumpy, resistant, or procrastinating, usually it's because he's spending too much time with his wife or children. That raises estrogen. And a lot of men feel guilty because women think, oh, you shouldn't pull away. I need you. I want connection. And yes, connection is what produces estrogen in women. Women need to make 10 times more. So women say to me, well, when he's in his cave, what am I supposed to do? And my answer is have a life. Have a life.
Yeah. Well, which is step 3.
And so maybe you read step 3.
Well, step 3 does have a life of your own, is in order to make peace with cave time.
It's kind of a fail safe, because when women are with men, they have their estrogen goes up if he's being attentive to her, somewhat romantic to her. And what my daughter says in that blog is, when my husband goes to his cave, when he comes out, he's always more romantic. So I've learned that if I want him to be more romantic, give him a lot of cave time. And but for some women, their husbands just feel guilty about it, or they don't do it. And so the woman has to, well, how can she get him to take cave time? She can just take her own cave time in a nice way, which is, hey, honey, I'm going to go visit with my friends. I'm going to go do this with my friends and see you later. Now, Bonnie, my wife, she told me one time when I was in a bad mood, I go to my cave. I don't want to talk about my feelings. I'm just going to be in my cave, because just detaching from emotions helps a man to raise his testosterone rather than talking about his feelings at that time. Not a good idea. That's a big idea right there. Everybody thinks talking about feelings is the best thing you can do. Talking about feelings raises estrogen. When a man's testosterone is low, the last thing he needs is more estrogen. So he needs time to not talk about feelings, not think about feelings. And a very funny story is, when I was just learning all this stuff, Bonnie and I were moving into our new house, and I'd written this book, Men Are From Mars, and so we got a new house, and I put this sound system in so it would work in most of the rooms, which now doesn't work 25 years later, but whatever. But we had this guy, we'll call him, I can't remember his name. We'll put Phil as his name. Let's say that. I was so frustrated because Phil was taking so long. I'd come home, I'd be frustrated. It wasn't working. He didn't show up. And then I called him that day, and he said he had mono, he was sick, and now I have to feel compassion for him instead of being angry with him. And so I'm dealing with just these annoyances, right? Finally, I forgot Phil. Okay, I let it go. There's nothing I can do about it. Just let it go, which is what I did. And I'm lying down to bed that night, and she says, how you doing, honey? I said, I'm fine. Well, what about Phil? Now I have to feel, the last thing I want is for her to bring up what's bothering me, because I've already forgotten it. But see, men don't understand this about women, because if Bonnie was bothered by something, I said, what about Phil? And she, oh, Phil didn't do this, he had this, and she gets a chance to talk about it. That raises estrogen, which is good for her in most cases, but for men, not always good in most cases.
Yeah. Well, and I think the for me at least, and I think most women would agree, the hardest thing to understand is that fact that the man needs space. And as you say, it's by a law. It's not against to remember that it's not, most of the time anyway, it doesn't really have anything to do with us. And that, for me, I mean, that continues to be an issue with me, and thank God for your book.
And it's always going to be challenging because it's different, but understanding of difference then helps us to let go of our mistaken interpretations that he doesn't love me, doesn't like me. So here's a great fix on that, which is learning to live with a caveman. would be in the middle of a conversation, a woman will feel a man detach. Okay, just you could be in a conversation and suddenly he's connected, now he's not connected. The tendency is to think he's angry with you. And so what you can do at that time to feel reassurance he's not angry with me is you just simply say to him, oh, you're thinking about that. And immediately he'll go, yes, I'm thinking about it. It's such a simple thing. And when a guy's, bothered about something, a woman, rather than say, what are you feeling? And say, you thinking about something? And he'll say, yeah, just thinking about it. You'll see in the tone of his voice, as soon as you say, you're thinking, yeah, Yes, it feels so masculine to say I'm thinking as opposed to
versus what are you feeling? That's
what are
such
you
a great
feeling?
point.
It's
Yeah.
just the worst thing ever to do. And another fun story, I remember doing an Oprah show when Oprah would try to be therapists. There were people like, what do you feel? What do you feel? And so she had
Mm-hmm.
this husband and wife who were angry with each other. And she was listening to her. What does she feel? I'm not going to go the whole thing, but
Mm-hmm.
the end story was she was very talkative, and this is TV. You got to keep talking, right? And she'd say to the man, well, how do you feel? And he was like struggling to get a word out. It's like, and this like TV time, no talking. And she kept saying, what do you feel? And I said, Oprah, try this. Ask him, what does he think? And he said, what do you think? Me, he said, I think it's completely
Yeah.
unfair. You know, I married her and now suddenly she has all these rules and I have to change. Like nobody told me about this. I mean, I have my life too. I want to live. So it was an instant conversation, and women can just use that all the time. It's never ask a man what he feels. You usually get nothing or okay or whatever. Or the more modern man feels obligated to like search within his realm of emotions and feelings,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing that if he's stressed,
Mm-hmm.
the last thing he needs to do when he's
Yeah.
stressed is talk about emotions because it will raise his estrogen. And anytime a man is stressed, his estrogen's too high, his testosterone too low. Give him time to think, give him
Yeah.
space, give him distance, and busy yourself doing things that make you happy. And that last, I was about to tell you this story about Bonnie, where she saw me in my cave in a bad mood. She felt this urge. I need to be next to him. I need to be
Mm-hmm.
present for him. What can I do for him? And I remember when she said, "What can I do for you?" I don't know, honey. I just shut down. Not about her, just something was bothering me at
Yeah.
work. Most people
Mm-hmm.
don't know that while Men Are From Mars was #1 for over 5 years, over all books in the whole
Yeah.
decade, I never received a positive print interview. So I would get these terrible print interviews of jealous writers. TV
Yeah.
loved me, right? But
Mm-hmm.
so you get a negative interview, which is saying terrible stuff. It's a trigger, and so you just shut down as a man. And that's really a healthy thing because if you're triggered, you don't want to get angry because you
Mm-hmm.
act out. You don't want to feel fear because then you
Right.
run away from things. What you're
Mm-hmm.
doing there is you're just containing. Think of femininity as expressing,
Mm-hmm.
sharing. So you can penetrate me. See, that's what it is. It's a woman's being
Mm-hmm.
open, the man can penetrate. What the man has to do is contain that wild energy inside, control
Mm-hmm.
it inside. It's not suppressing.
Mm-hmm.
People think that men are suppressing. When women contain, they're suppressing, and it always raises her stress. But when men contain, it doesn't. It raises testosterone to contain. Never act on negative emotions, never speak
Mm.
out negative emotions,
Yeah.
never complain, don't whine, but do it with other men who you're not trying to change. You can make jokes about it, you can share
Mm-hmm.
about it, you can express yourself, but not to your wife. Because with your wife, you want to create the zone of safety always. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, you have to be able to have your cave time. And it's such a
Yeah.
beautiful thing when men and women can understand this is a
Understand.
good thing, even though you may not like it at all times. It
Right.
just allows you to not be solely dependent on him for connection. You have to look to other places, friends, classes, books,
Mm-hmm.
gardening, whatever things you love to do separate from your partner, you have to find. Then you have the healthy balance in a relationship of you come to the relationship with I have the ability to be happy, and you
Mm-hmm.
give him the ability to make you happier sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah, it makes great sense. Well, we're starting to come to the end of this, John. I'd like to close out with again another word to our men, which you have here that you can reassure her before you go into a cave time. Maybe make it a little bit easier, and if
Yes,
men do that,
absolutely. You can have phrase, I just need a little me time. I need some cave time. I'll be back. That's always the thing.
mm-hmm,
If you need help, be sure to ask me. There's always
mm-hmm,
one of the biohacks that I teach in is every day what a woman can get reassurance is this is far out for some people, but let me just say it, which is put your hand up. That means I'm going to ask you to do something, and it'll only take less than 5 minutes. And what I hope for is for you to immediately go, yes, I'll be happy to do that. Like I'm your genie in a bottle. I'm just ready to go. Because so many times if women ask men to do something, little things,
mm-hmm,
they think, oh, he's too busy. He won't want to do it. He'll bark, he'll
mm-hmm,
grumble about
mm-hmm,
it. Men don't realize that doing little things for women has a big impact. And women don't realize how good it can be for her estrogen levels to ask him to do something which she normally would do for herself. So every day, my wife will ask me to make me a cup of tea, give me a foot massage, clean up the kitchen as much as you can within the 5-minute period. And so there's this freedom where I, in my mind, go, oh, it only takes 5 minutes. I can make my wife happy. And even for conversation, you can put up two hands and say, I just want your undivided attention for 10 minutes. and then he knows there's a time limit. He can set himself to know I will be successful in 10 minutes. And therefore he can come out and give her exactly what she's wanting and needing, and feeling that his testosterone stays up, because it's almost like a way I can be of service to her, which every man ultimately wants.
Well, John, thank you so much. This is so important. And I just kind of had a laugh when I came across it, because I came across that just at the right time when I was going to go whine about something. So
well, let me just add one more thing a man can say, because many times after a little bit of a disagreement, a man, if he's wise, he'll take cave time. As soon as he gets triggered in any way, you take cave time. And what he can say at that time is, let's talk about this tomorrow at lunch. I need some time to think about it. Okay, so this is the whole key. And whenever a woman asks him to do something, he says, I just need to take some cave time, or I just need to set me time. You can say cave time, whatever. Just need to take time for myself. And then I will be happy to do that. I will be available to you. It's like the ability to say, and then I will be available to you. And you can also interrupt a man during the cave. You can say to him, this is great. You catch him when he's going to the bathroom. He's up, he says, oh, when you get a chance, I need your help. Very powerful phrase a woman can do. And he'll say, well, what is it? Oh, when you're out of your cave, I'll let you know. So then always to draw a man in, because ultimately that's why men are attracted to women, is we need somebody who needs us, that we can help.
Yeah. And you say here that if the man just says, you didn't do anything wrong, just reassure it's not about her. And if we both understand that, gosh, what a beautiful world we have. Well, John, again, thank you so much. I will link to all of your information, to all of your books. Be sure to, I've read this one numerous times, great information that we all need to know, especially in this world right now. And your website, you have tons of courses, webinars. You always have wonderful information. And John, I look forward to having you back again soon on Second Act TV.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.